Because Rackham I Ego, the latest novelette that I'm releasing on my Patreon on July 31st, is almost here, I wanted to do a short preview for the novelette, read a few lines, maybe a few paragraphs or so, and show you guys the cover art, and just give a little bit of a breakdown on this cyberpunk novelette. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. What you see right now is the cover for Rackham I. Some of you have probably seen this if you follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. The style, basically, well, I don't really want to say what my inspiration was for it because I just kind of did it. I know that's probably frustrating, but I mean, obviously it's kind of influenced by Akira and by Ghost in the Shell and things like that. And of course, Blade Runner. How can I forget that? But once you read the story, you'll basically understand what this cover means. And if you know what that kanji is, and I know that the kanji is very rough for those of you who are actual Japanese speakers, and that's done on purpose, and if you look closely, it's also cracked, like the neon sign itself. There's like cracks in the glass and stuff, and there's a reason for that. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and get into the blurb. For Paul Anderson Foe, fast food worker and professional underachiever, life is about to get a whole lot more interesting. Given the opportunity of a lifetime by a woman with spiked neon hair and glowing multicolored eyes who calls herself Dynamo, he's thrust into Battle for Drogon, a virtual, augmented reality game that manipulates what the player sees through their VR implant. She tells him that, with her help, he can earn a fortune through the game and fix his loser life. Paul is all too eager to jump in, but is this game more than Dynamo is letting on? Rackham I Ego is the first in a series of cyberpunk stories based in the fictional city of Rackham. So I've got the final draft sitting right in front of me, and I'll go ahead and read from the first chapter as well. Chapter 1. The graphics were better than he ever imagined, like real life. Paul yanked his laser sword out of the foot soldier's gut. He stumbled back nervously, watching the demonic thing keel over on its knees, mewling and growling as it struggled to keep its intestines from spilling out onto the floor. Paul watched the creature bleed to death in the torchlight of the dungeon. The feel of it, the friction of his laser sword sliding out of the demon's guts. The act felt so real, and yet it felt so wrong. It was like removing a knife from a slab of meat or a raw chicken carcass. I thought laser swords were made of, like, electricity or something, Paul said. Are you seriously critiquing the greatest game of our generation? Dynamo's face popped up in the top right-hand corner of Paul's heads-up display. They were using the game's built-in chat server. Her rainbow-spiked hair was in a new style today, sweeping over and above her head in a dramatic arc, and her bold, glowing eyes had gone from red to yellow. Staring into them always made him feel vulnerable, as if she could read his mind like a plain old text file. I don't know. Maybe? I just thought there'd be less resistance when I swung my... Craven, shut up. You flip fucking burgers for a living. Do you honestly think you're qualified to be giving me a physics lesson? She rolled her eyes. That's just your first kill, and you barely survived it. If you want to get the loot at the end of this dungeon, you're gonna have to focus. Right, focus. When he focused, he noticed that there was a new smell in the dungeon. It was pungent, like shit or urine or some other bodily fluid. These were monsters, he rationalized. It only made sense that they probably didn't use toilets. But he never heard of VR implants capable of not only reshaping reality around a person, but also making the user smell whatever the game wanted them to. Now, are you ready to tear Destiny a new asshole? Her luscious violet lips formed a grin that would put the devils to shame. I don't know how any of this stuff works, Cloud Dynamo. Just call me Dynamo, Craven. She sighed, face-palmed. He wasn't looking cool at all. I still don't get why I can't pick my own name. Isn't that how other games work? Craven Ego just sounds so... You? She laughed at him. That laughter was like a kick to the balls. Listen, you're green as fuck. Your call sign is a title, a badge of fucking honor that you earn. You know what a Purple Heart is? I think it was an award the military used to give out to people who got wounded a long time ago. And they didn't give it out to pussies, did they? Paul shook his head. Now, go kill some more fucking foot soldiers, make the boss your bitch, and earn some EXP. You don't want to be flipping fucking burgers for the rest of your life, right? No, ma'am. It was his first real mission, and if he was lucky, his first real boss fight. She took a risk on him, and he couldn't screw this up. The VR implant she'd put in his head was probably priceless. Not only was he going to have to pay her back for the implant with interest, but he was going to have to prove himself. His hair stood on end when he heard the demonic growls and footsteps echoing from the depths of the dark and dank dungeon. He knew this was some kind of warehouse converted to be a VR conduit for battle for Drogon, but he didn't know the layout or how many rooms there were. Dynamo wanted him to fly blind this time. Great. All your yapping aggroed the enemies in the next room, Dynamo said. You're so fucking green. Green-scaled faces beneath metallic gleaming helmets emerged from the shadows as if rising from the surface of some blackened lake. Their eyes burned a vile crimson in the dark, bobbing like lanterns in the night. Their swords and shields clanked together as they closed in. Paul straightened his posture, readying his laser sword. Vomit threatened to explode from his throat, and his heart felt like it was doing one of those blast deathcore beats. Why was he so damn nervous? They got closer. He closed his eyes and focused. It's just a video game, he told himself. The monster foot soldiers couldn't actually hurt him. Oh, but they can hurt you, Craven, Dynamo said. So open your eyes. Bob and fucking weave! Paul opened his eyes in time to see a rusty axe come down near his head. He jumped back, nearly tipping over the corpse of the foot soldier he'd already killed. They came in, relentlessly slashing at him. He backed away, unsure of himself, until his armor clanked against the wet stone wall. Don't just stand there like a bitch, Craven, Dynamo said. Earn your title. But it felt so real. Was that what it really felt like to kill a person? Kill them. They're not real. They're just monsters. Fucking filthy animals. Kill them. How had he come to this? Last night he was just a simple Golden Fry employee, trying to save up enough bite cash to move out of his brother's basement. That was the first section of the first chapter. There's plenty more to discover on July 31st when the story releases. All you have to do to get access is pledge at least $1 to my Patreon, patreon.com/Eric Malikyte. Those who pledge $5 or more get access on July 24th to this story instead, a whole 7 days earlier than everyone else does, so that's pretty cool. Once again, $10 patrons get beta reader access to all stories moving forward. That means all my rough drafts are available to you, and at the $20 level, you will gain a personalized inking, cosmic horror, cyberpunk, anything, whatever you want, styled illustration, and I will mail it directly to you, signed, printed, all that good stuff. Once again, that link is patreon.com/Eric Malikyte. The link is in the description, and it's right up on your screen right now. Enter that into your browser and head over there right now. Pledge $1 or more, whatever you're comfortable with, and thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to this right now. I really appreciate it, and if you can, just spread the word. Spread the word about this. I hope it's going to be big. I'm really proud of this novelette. I'm proud of what I've done here, and I think you guys are really going to like it. I think you're going to like this story. I'm already working on the next one, which I don't know how long it's going to end up being. It's probably going to be a long one. But anyways, thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell because YouTube is stupid, and I'll see you on the next Into the Astral Lands podcast.